So do this for me. Let's kick out the dream team, which might be the greatest semblance of basketball talent of all time anywhere. How close is this group to that group?
I would put 2008 over this team. Like, if I'm really honest, I would put 2008 over this team because I think 2008, you had prime LeBron, you had prime D Wade, you had a Jason Kidd that was just like that. What like the expiration date it hadn't hit yet, and then like it was you had so much talent. You had Dwight Howard on that team. Like before the back injury, 2008. Like when we start talking about the collections of talent of American basketball, I put 2008 before this team, but this team is still very, very good. It's just that I will put it this way. This team probably has more competition in its way than 2008 ever did, but at the same point, I would take 2008's talent, the collective, where everybody was, over this current team right now.
Yeah, this team is going to earn their gold medal when they get it because there are a lot of good teams. Heck, we saw U.S. didn't play great. I watched the game the other night. I thought USA-Canada was super entertaining. Canada's an NBA team. They should be thinking about, and I'm sure they are, they should be thinking about medaling.
Absolutely. I think there's, like, if Canada doesn't get at least a bronze, it's a disappointment. This is the best Canadian team that we've probably ever seen in terms of talent. They have everything they need, including the agitator, Dylan Brooks, to do some significant damage when it comes to Olympic time. So I'm kind of like, again, they have one of the top 5 players in the world right now, and it's a very interesting collection because I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure, like, this is one of those years where I'm not sure the U.S. wins this thing and gets the gold, and it might be justifiable. It might be justifiable.
They could lose, right? I'm not suggesting that they can't lose. They could lose. But boy, it's going to take their level will have to drop. I think if they play anything close to a maximum level, they're not losing.
The only thing is, like, France. There's France, Adam.
I know they have France.
Team scares me in terms of what they can do because think about it like this. You have Rudy Gobert that's anchoring the paint.
Right.
And then you have some guy named Victor Wembanyama that's basically the roaming defender off ball, doing everything off ball. And mind you, Rudy Gobert doesn't have to leave the paint at all. Like that's a fairly scary proposition in the half court, no matter how you slice it.
Yeah, I just don't know if there's enough. I know they're very good. There's no question about it. It's going to be hard for me to believe that they have enough. I just think they need the U.S. to drop a level in order for them to beat the United States. Anthony Edwards, we're talking with Konata Edwards here, Nada the Scribe on Twitter. Anthony Edwards declared himself the number 1 option. Right now, he is leading the second unit. If you if you go by Steve Kerr's starting 5 and then the next group he brought in, I don't think it really matters. He was their leading scorer, so he's probably right. But who was it? Bam Adebayo said, we're all the number 1 option.
Well, of course, Bam's going to say that because, again, that's Heat culture. There is no real number 1 option. Like, he's like Bam's right, but at the same time, Anthony Edwards is right because you're going to need those guys, those isolation scorers that'll get it out of the mud, especially since Kevin Durant is injured, probably won't be back until pool play and everything. And even then, it's going to take him a little bit of time to get up to speed. So, like, I understand that, like, Anthony Edwards is kind of brash and outspoken and everything else like that, but he might have a point, especially if, like, the idea is to save Curry, save LeBron for those key moments. So I get it, but at the same point, I'm not sure I would have said it out loud, but that's Anthony Edwards' piece.
Well, first of all, in using just those 2 players, Anthony Edwards and Bam Adebayo, I think Anthony Edwards is more right than Bam Adebayo. Because Bam Adebayo is not ever the first option. Maybe on his own team during the year,
I was about to say
Maybe.
because we don't know how many games Jimmy plays during the regular season.
Right.
And we also know that Jimmy sandbags the regular season.
Right.
So theoretically, Bam might be the number one option on his own team. But in every other city in the world and every other team in the world, maybe outside of Charlotte, Detroit, he's not the number one option.
All right, so let me ask you this. Put on your Steve Kerr hat. You are 2 minutes to go in the game. Let's say you're playing Canada in the gold medal game. You're 2 minutes to go, and it's tied. Which five are on the floor?
Ooh. Do I have Kevin Durant available to me?
Yeah, Kevin Durant's healthy.
All right, so we're going probably Steph, Anthony Edwards, Bron, KD, Bam.
Bam over Joel Embiid over Anthony Davis. I'm not arguing. I just
Joel Embiid flops too much, and you saw it against Canada, and it's like, why? It's unnecessary flopping.
Right.
Like, that's the thing with Joel. I like Joel, but at the same point, I kind of want the guy that I know. Like, between Bam and AD, it's a bigger concern. Like, I trust Bam to do the dirty work a little bit more than I do AD. And
right.
I understand, and it goes back to a conversation that me and you have all the time. AD is tall man, not big man.
Correct.
Bam is big man. That's the thing. If you're telling me the guy that I can trust to be the connector at the five, do all the grimy stuff against the Jokic's, the Goberts of the world, and everything else like that, give me Bam Adebayo at the five for specifically that reason.
And in that second unit that Steve Kerr runs out there, he's got Anthony Davis playing the four and Bam Adebayo playing the five. When Kawhi Leonard had to be replaced, and we were all so surprised that Kawhi couldn't stay healthy for this. Were you surprised that Derek White was the add and not Jaylen Brown?
No, because I understand why everybody's like, go get the Finals MVP.
Right.
But you need those guys that are just willing, that just don't know how to do anything but grind. You always need those guys. You don't need the stars all the time, because the stars are not going to be willing to grind on their summer vacation, nor do I blame them. This is like, unfortunately, we have to look at Team USA in portions as the summer job. How many of them, like, that's the summer side job, that's how they get their run in, that's how they get better for the actual NBA season. Give me the guy that doesn't know how to do anything else but grind and be a key cog, and, oh, by the way, not worry about his minutes. He's going to be grateful that he's just there.
See, that was the key for me. It was you added somebody that didn't have to play.
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown needs to play. He's not a guy who's going to sit on the bench. He's a 40-minute-a-night guy. Not that Derek White doesn't play a lot, because he does, and he's a key member of that team. But if Derek White didn't get a minute off the bench against South Sudan, then I don't think you have a problem.
Yeah, he's not complaining about, why'd you bring me out here?
Right.
Like, again, I love Jaylen Brown. I understand the need to bring Jaylen Brown. But at the same point, give me the guy that already knows his role, that's going to understand his role, and more importantly, has been practicing with this team. I like Jaylen Brown. He really does. You'd be plopping him into a situation that he's unfamiliar with, and then you're asking him to play catch-up. And, oh, yeah, he's probably not going to get the minutes necessary to do all that catch-up work as is.
Konata Edwards, not a describe on Twitter, works with Gary Parrish and Matt Norlander on the Iron College Basketball podcast. I don't know how much they have been talking about it, but thoughts on Cooper Flagg?
I can't wait for the season to get started, because I think this is probably the most interesting season that we've had, at least since I've been with CBS, because you have Cooper Flagg, who is an actual generational talent. You have this Duke team, which is probably the most interesting in the Shire era, because they should be a top 5 team. They should be ranked in the top 5 when we get started in October, November. The key is, are they going to be able to put all this together? Because they're scheduled tough. I love what Cooper Flagg is going to be. I'm not going to be one of those that's going to say he's going to average
Right.
19 and 10, and 19 and 11, be the best generational player. But he's the type of guy that he's going to put in buckets. He's going to let you know about it. This may be the closest thing that we have to Christian Laettner in 2024.
Ooh.
And you know what? Like, that's the kind of guy that this sport needs right now, because we don't have one of those guys that like can generate the animosity, and you can't do anything with him about that. So I'm looking forward to this. And if you're not looking forward to it, I need you to check your pulse to make sure that you're still alive.
Or you're an anti-Duke fan, which, I mean, that's fine. I mean, you can root for and root against whoever you want. But yeah,
if you love the sport. But the thing is, Adam, if you love the sport of college basketball, you can't help but be excited, because you know what? College basketball might have its first villain in quite a while, and there's nothing better than that.
Since Grayson Allen.
Well, yeah, except Cooper's actually good. Cooper's generational.
Well, okay, Grayson Allen was certainly not generational, but he was a good player. He was a very good player.
Yes.
All right, let me ask you this: the Hornets off season. Miles Bridges back. It's not a crazy contract. It's not one of those $40 million deals, because this is what the NBA is now. The $25 million annual contract is just kind of mid-level. And we're going to see when the new monies finally hit, we're going to see like max deals go over $100,000 a year.
Easy, yeah.
All right, so tell me what you think of what the Hornets have done.
The Hornets have put themselves in a position to figure out exactly who was going to be about this new culture and who's not going to be about this new culture. You're gonna. A lot of people are probably asking, why have they brought back the majority of a 21-win team? This is when I would point out that LaMelo Ball played 20-something games. Mark Williams played less than 20 games. Brandon Miller, you just now figured it out. And then at the same point, you're bringing in Charles Lee, who, granted, it's not much, but coached the Hornet Summer League team, featuring mostly guys who will not scratch the rotation, and went undefeated, and players showed an interest in playing defense, which has not really been seen in this town, quite literally, since Steve Clifford's first regime. So This is about figuring out, quite literally, if they are like us or if they're not like us, and then they're going to start getting people off the island like Survivor. So that Miles Bridges contract, quite literally, is one of those where, well, again, it's 25. It's not going to be that big a deal if they figure out, okay, he doesn't fit or he does fit, and then they can move on to him, similar to what they did with P.J. Washington last year. A lot of this is going to be stress test, and we're going to figure it out. If they perform well, they stay healthy, they have 20, 25 wins by January, then they're going to see if they can move some of those contracts to get better and further get the culture to come together. If they only have 10, 15 wins, then they're going to start getting the people that they don't see as a part of the future out. So a lot of this is a funhouse mirror. It just depends on how you choose to look at this roster going forward.
Final thing for Konata Edwards, CBS Sports, at Not of the Scribe on Twitter. There have all of the Uruguay, I guess they're still there, have all the Colombian fans left Charlotte. What was that like Wednesday night? I mean, it had to be, it was a great scene. I joked it was the most fun that people have had inside of Bank of America Stadium in 5 years. So,
longer, much longer.
Is it much longer? It is kind of longer. It's like 7 years, 8 years. Yeah, my fault.
Yeah, I would go closer to 8.
Well, 18. I mean, it was fun until the Steelers game.
Fair.
It's like 7 years. So is the city back together? What's going on?
The city is back together. I do think, for my experience, it was one of the most culturally diverse scenes that I think we'll ever see in Charlotte. And it is the closest. I believe that was a great scene. Unfortunately, the fight afterwards, where we have Darwin Nunez basically acting like Riley Cooper, Like, we have all of that going on, and like that ugly scene notwithstanding, but also that's Copa going Copa.
That
if
is.
you know anything about the Copa. Like, so, but like once we get past that fight, and I think we're going to be able to get past that fight, I think that was a great scene for like professional soccer in Charlotte.
Yep.
I think it was a great scene. I think as long as we don't bite down on the fight, I think it's going to be awesome, and we're going to continue to see games here. And building out a professional soccer culture is not easy, especially when you're talking about Charlotte, North Carolina. But they made some great steps. Charlotte FC has done some really, really good work in terms of that. It's one of the few David Tepper projects that I actually feel kind of optimistic about, which is strange for me to feel.